All right, well, it's good to be here back on the podcast today. This is a fun interview for me. I have become the last probably 10 years or so a pretty big soccer fan, mostly, the national team and things like that. But having a team here in Salt Lake, it's really been fun to go and watch games. But I'm here today with the right back for the RSL, Brooks Lennon. So it's a pleasure to be here, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I guess first off, I want to start out, give us a little bit of your background. I think a lot of people I want to kind of get into soccer a little bit and introduce people a little bit more to the sport. It's really becoming popular in the U.S. this last several years. What have you seen changes, or what has been kind of the push for soccer in the U.S.? What kind of things have you seen versus when you were a kid?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the MLS is growing. Big name players that are, most people would know from Europe are starting to come and play in the MLS, like guys like Ibrahimovic and Schweinsteiger and Beckham came a couple years ago. And the sport is definitely growing in the U.S. And I think in a couple, I'd say 5-10 years, it's going to be one of the major sports in the U.S. for sure.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's fun to see the evolution of it, because for me it's really fun. The one thing I love about soccer is it's pretty quick. You can go in 2 hours and catch a full game, right? I think that's one of the draws, especially with millennials these days. I mean, you're a young guy. You're how old are you now?
21.
21. Yeah. You're just a baby, man.
Yeah.
And one thing that I know about your story that really is a podcast highlighting exceptional people, and something that's really cool about your story. I mean, now you're playing in the professional league here in the United States as a 21-year-old, and this is your second year here.
Yeah.
But you had to leave high school as a freshman to really decide, I'm going to commit the rest of my life to soccer. Tell us a little bit about the story of kind of where you were at growing up, and then at what point you knew you had to dive all into soccer.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona, and I grew up there. I went to high school there for a year and a little bit, and then I made the move to freshman year I was involved in the RSL Academy in Casa Grande, Arizona.
How does that work? Did they recruit you to that?
Yeah, so they recruited me from my club team, which was Sereno Soccer Club in Arizona. So they just recruited me, and I went down for tryouts at the beginning of the season, and luckily I made the team. And actually the year that I played there, my under 16 year, we won the national championship, which was really good, because I was, at the start of the year I was a little bit skeptical, because I wanted to play high school soccer my freshman year, because my brother was a senior at the time, so we would only had 1 year to play together. But I made the right decision to play more of the serious soccer and make the move to RSL.
So when you go to that academy, are you still going to school with the academy? Or
yeah. So I was actually, they had a residential school and everything there in Casa Grande, but I was a commuter since I grew up in Phoenix. So I would drive 45 minutes every day to training, and I went to school in Phoenix, which was nice.
Okay, so you still got to have like a normal high school experience.
Definitely, yeah. I didn't have to live full time there, which most of the guys did, which was, it was tough for sure, because there's not much to do, and it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. So I had the normal high school experience while I was playing with guys that didn't.
So those guys that were on the team, did they go to high school as well out there then, but they didn't necessarily get to live in their hometown, so they were just living in a kind of like a dorm?
Yeah, exactly. So they went to high school in Casa Grande, where the team had an affiliate school that all the kids went to. So they lived in dorms there and went to school there, whereas I was a commuter. I went to school at a high school called Bofo in Arizona.
Okay. And soccer is one of those sports where they kind of pick people at a very young age to kind of be the next big thing, right?
Definitely.
And so that's why you guys so young. At what age did you end up signing your first professional contract there, and how did that come about?
16 years old was the first professional contract, and it was actually in Liverpool, England. So I went on.
It's 16 years.
Yeah.
I remember when I was 16, I was like spilling spaghetti on my shirt on like my first date or something.
Yeah. So I moved to England, 16 years old, signed my first professional contract, and I was playing for Liverpool for 3 years, and then moved back to RSL last year on loan. And had a great year here, and then I signed a permanent deal here in the offseason.
So did you finish your high school in England? Or?
Yeah. So I finished all my high school online when I was in England, which was tough, but I got through it and graduated and everything.
So what's the normal schedule of a kid, a 17-year-old playing on the Liverpool team? at 17 years old? What are you doing on a normal daily basis?
Yeah, so we would normally train in the mornings. So we would train from probably 9 to 11:30, 12-ish, and then quick lunch, and then you have to go to school in the afternoon. So Liverpool had a school that I could go to and do my online work, and I had teachers helping me learn the lessons and everything, which was nice. But yeah, it was action-packed day from start to finish, and it was tough, but I was living out my dream as a 16-year-old.
Did you guys play against the main teams in practice and things like that, or was it separated? Yeah, so
it's separated. At Liverpool, they have the academy and the first team are in two different complexes. But every so often you'd get called up and get to train with the first team, which was an unbelievable experience. I was training with guys like Steven Gerrard and Coutinho and guys that you see every day on TV, which was great, and it helped my confidence coming back to RSL for sure.
Yeah, that'd be fun, man. It's just, I can imagine like myself when I played high school baseball, if I got to somehow play against like the major leaguers, Ken Griffey at the time or something. It's just, that is a wild experience.
Yeah, definitely.
So what was your favorite thing about living in England?
It was a whole different, it was like a culture shock, like different food, being able to go into London and travel around Europe was really cool. Italy was only an hour flight. Germany was super close. So I was able to travel in and around Europe a lot, which I think was my favorite part. And I was so young, so I was getting such good experiences from that. But I definitely don't miss the weather at all.
It seems like it's like always gloomy.
Yeah, always gloomy and rainy.
I went to London last year and they told me it was good weather, and I was like, "This is a terrible day." The weather just seemed super gloomy to me.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. So did the European women take to you being an American guy over there? Or
I mean, they loved my accent. I guess I had an accent over there,
like an Arizona accent.
Yeah, an Arizona accent. So I guess they loved it, but yeah, it was. I mean, when I first got to Liverpool, they call the Liverpoolians Scousers. That's their nickname, and it was so hard to understand them because it literally just sounds like they have rocks in their mouth when they're talking. But I got used to it, and the women loved the accent for sure.
That's fun. What was your least favorite thing about being out there?
Just being away from my family and missing, all the, fun things that happen in high school, like the proms and all the dances and stuff. That was hard, but obviously the sacrifice, paid off in the end. So I'm happy.
So how did you end up back here in Salt Lake playing for Real?
Well, I was playing for the under-23s at the time for Liverpool, and I wasn't getting really that much of a sniff at the first team. I was training with them every so often, but it was hard for me to break in. So I knew I had to go outside of England and pick up some professional experience. And so RSL was one of the first teams on my mind, and my agent was able to call the club and negotiate something for me to come back on loan last year, and it worked out perfectly. I got a lot of minutes last year and scored some goals, and it was a great year.
So you actually reach out to the teams here in the MLS, and kind of let them know you're kind of like almost like a free agent. Kind of looking, is that
definitely So I just told my agent, I need to go somewhere where I'm going to get more playing time, and he, he's an American guy that knows RSL really well, so picked up the phone and called them, and they were super interested in having me back.
Well, in Salt Lake, so close to Phoenix, had you been here before?
I had never been here. Never been here before I signed, and then I came here actually in the kind of winterish, and I was shocked. It was freezing.
You wanted to go back to England for the better weather. So does your family get to come up a lot being in Arizona then?
Yeah. It's only like an hour, 15-minute flight, so they come for the important games, they say. So that's really nice. I get to see them a lot.
Well, and this year you've been a starter for every game but one. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And tell us
the first game and second game.
But you had to switch positions, though, right? So how did that come about?
Honestly, at the start, it was just kind of up in the air. Our right back last year, Tony Beltran, got injured, bad injury, tore his ACL, and so we didn't really have a right back at the beginning of the season. And they just tried me out there, and I guess I did really well, and so it just stuck.
So that you had to make a full switch of positions. I'm not as familiar with soccer. I think maybe in baseball, going from an infielder to an outfielder, it's an adjustment, but you kind of are familiar. Is it kind of similar in soccer?
Yeah, super similar. I was playing right winger before I had changed to right back. So same side of the field, same kind of feel, but you just have to take on a little bit more defensive responsibilities, which I'm fine with. And yeah, it was definitely an easy transition for me.
Gotcha. How are the fans in Salt Lake, Real fans, compared to other cities around the U.S. and the MLS?
I think they're one of the top, to be honest. This past weekend, we played in Atlanta, which is unbelievable. They had 70,000 fans, which was pretty crazy. But I think traveling around the league for a year and a half, 2 years now, I think RSL is definitely up there in the top 5.
So Atlanta had 70,000 fans.
70,000, yeah. We played in the Falcon Stadium.
Wow, and they filled it.
Yeah, they filled it.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I think one of the favorite things, again, I love about soccer is you kind of feel like it's all right there, it's close. I think a few of the things that Americans, I know my buddies, I asked a few of my friends before this interview to help me give some questions about soccer, and a few of them that are more football guys or basketball guys just said, how do you keep attention when there's just so little scoring? So what do what's your opinion on that, and what do you think soccer can do to try to, somebody like that's not necessarily a soccer fan but maybe is trying to be, but just needs more scoring?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to convince a guy when they're talking about scoring, but I think soccer is one of the most exciting sports to watch just because there's no really stoppage of play. It's just 90 minutes full on. Obviously there's halftime, but other than that, it's no timeouts and stuff like that. So I think it's action packed, and I think that's what draws people to watch it, and I definitely think it's growing in the U.S.
So you got a true soccer fan. It just knows what to watch for more. So somebody like me that I go to a couple games a year. I've been to a World Cup in Brazil. I always watch the important every 4 years games. Obviously the World Cup, but how would you suggest to watch the soccer game to understand a little bit more of the nuances that are going on?
Yeah, I mean, you have to know a little bit about soccer, and it's tough when you don't know any of the players that you're watching, or you don't really understand the rules or whatever. But I would say just try and figure out who your favorite players are and watch them. As a kid, for me, whenever I went to soccer games, professional soccer games, I would try and watch my favorite players and try and emulate them and see what they did on the field, so I can implement that in my game. So just trying to pick out your favorite players and watching them, and hopefully you're enjoying the game.
Well, it's funny because I'm a baseball guy, and I can go to a baseball game and sit there for 4 hours, and to me, I kind of look at soccer the same way now. I just enjoy the experience of being there. It's not always intense, but you can kind of tell when the ball starts to move around the goal and things like that, right? They start to push it and things like that. So I've actually really taken to enjoy it. Have you ever been to a World Cup? Yeah,
I went to the U-20 World Cup last year.
And you were playing, right?
Yeah, I was playing. So our qualifying.
What's the U-20, by the way, for those that are?
So U-20 is just guys that are, I would say sophomore. Most of them are sophomores in college. So it's basically 19 and 20-year-olds around the world, and so I was playing for the USA, obviously, and you have to qualify for it. So there's CONCACAF qualifying, which is our area of the world, and our qualifying was in Costa Rica, and we actually won that tournament, which was the first team to ever do it in the USA. So that was amazing and such a cool run, and then we went to the World Cup, and it was in South Korea, which is a pretty crazy place to be, especially right now. But yeah, probably the best soccer experience of my life.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. And you guys, you did really well there. Right?
Yeah, we did great. We got out of the group stage, and we went to the quarterfinal and lost to Venezuela, who eventually lost in the final to England. So we lost to a really good team with a bunch of great players. And we made a great run at it. It was tough to go out early, but But I was proud of the team.
So they run that the same way as the normal World Cup. It's just everybody's under 20. Is that correct?
Yeah. Same format, same group stage and everything. It's just everyone's under 20.
Well, then you had a cool experience. You got to play with the national team earlier this year. How did that come about?
Yeah, so I got called into January camp with the full men's national team, and yeah, it was unbelievable. It's obviously a dream come true. You know, since I was a little boy, I've always dreamt of playing for the full men's national team, and I got my call up this past January, and there was actually 2 other RSL players that got called up as well.
Is that a tryout? Do you try out for that, or is it just they've been watching you?
Yeah, so they've just been watching you and scouting you, and so they invite you to a camp, and it's just a big pool of players that, you know, it's a big training camp where they try and scout you and look at you and see if they want to continue calling you in, and hopefully, you know, one day I can be a full time on the men's national team.
Cool. Well, so I gotta say, man, I was a little bummed this year. I had plans. I have 2 friends that lived in Russia, and we were all planning to go to the World Cup, and then the U.S. lost. What happened? From somebody that knows soccer as well as you do, like, I mean, we were losing to countries that had a population the size of Austin, Texas, right? So what do you, in your opinion, what happened?
So we had a coaching change. It's the beginning of qualifying. It was a German legend, Jurgen Klinsmann, and he actually got fired with a couple games left to go in the qualifying stages. And we actually hired a guy that's you know, been in the MLS for a while, Bruce Arena. He coached LA Galaxy for many years. And I just think that honestly, I didn't think there was enough you know, spark in the group. You know, a lot of people say that there weren't many, you know, young players that got the chance to get called up. Obviously, Christian Pulisic got called in and did really well all of qualifying, and was one of the main stars on the team. And I just think that maybe we could have called in a little bit more youth guys, younger guys, sorry, and just made the group a little bit more fiery and wanting it more. But you know, do you think there was an issue with the Klinsmann, the German coach? Do you think that played into it, or do you think that they should have kept him there? Or? I don't really know coaching wise what they should have done, because both coaches are great coaches. I don't know. I think maybe you should have just stuck with one coach throughout and just tried to qualify with him. But you know, I think the coaching changed, and then different players started to get called in, and I think it was just confusion and not really that much fire in the belly. So yeah, it was definitely disappointing for sure.
Yeah. Well, and now it's 4.5 years because they're playing in Qatar in 2022, right? Yeah. And it's too hot during the summer, so they've moved it to the winter. Yeah. So what would you have to do between now and then to like make that national team? How does the process work?
Yeah, I just need to continue working hard and doing really well for RSL. That's the main thing to get called into the national team, is you have to be succeeding at your club team, at club level. And I think I've been doing that this year, and I think I've shown really well. So hopefully my national team call up is coming soon. But yeah, Qatar would be a dream come true to be in there.
Have you ever played in that area of the world?
I haven't. No, I mean, the closest is probably, I don't know. I mean, no, I haven't, to be honest. Yeah.
But that's one of the cool things about being a professional soccer player is you do get to travel all over the world. I mean, you guys are playing in tournaments all over the place, right? You said Costa Rica, and I mean, how many different countries would you say as a 21-year-old you've gotten to?
Yeah, probably 20, 30 different countries. It's crazy. Yeah. All around the world, you know, Azerbaijan, Mexico, Canada, all over Europe to different places. Yeah, South Korea, as I said. Yeah, we've been all over, which is a great experience for such a young kid.
Well, something that's interesting about soccer, I mean, you're 21 years old. If you were a baseball player or a basketball player or a football player, for example, you'd probably just be either coming into your junior, senior year in college, or you would have just, you know, left early for the draft or something like that, right? Yeah. Do you think it favors or hurts U.S. soccer to have it be more of a club sport as opposed to the colleges and universities?
Yeah, I think it favors soccer because if you look at it, most of the players that are playing college and high school and college soccer, you know, aren't the guys that are going over to Europe and aren't the star players on the MLS teams. Most of the guys are going over to Europe really early on and bypassing college. But yeah, I think going to college is obviously a good thing. College soccer is good, but I just don't think that's the best. If you want to be the best, I don't think that's the route.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up, who was your favorite player? Who was the player you wanted to model?
Definitely Cristiano Ronaldo.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And did you have a favorite American player, or does somebody growing up, do you mostly watch the European leagues then, or did you watch a lot of the American soccer as well?
Yeah, growing up was all European. That's basically all I watched was the English Premier League. I would wake up Saturday mornings with my dad and put the soccer on. My favorite American player growing up was Landon Donovan. I just think I emulate him a lot, and we have similar qualities.
Have you had a chance to meet him?
I haven't, no.
He's actually been playing in Mexico, right?
Yeah, he was playing in Mexico for a little bit. But yeah, I'd love to meet him one day. That'd be great.
No, very, very cool. So you came to Utah from from Liverpool, and obviously coming to Utah, I'd never been here before. What had you heard about Utah before, and what was different once you got here?
Yeah, so coming to Utah, I heard it was very boring place to live, and a huge Mormon community, and I was super skeptical. I didn't know what to expect, and actually when I came here, I was shocked. I love it here. Unbelievable restaurants downtown. Park City's only 25-30 minutes away. All the people have been so nice to me since I've came. I live right downtown, right next to the Jazz Arena, so I like to go to those games, and they're a good team, so they made the playoffs last year, which was fun. So yeah, everything so far has been great.
Do the fans stop you when they see you and things like that?
Yeah, every so often. If I'm walking downtown, I'll probably get some people recognize me, which is cool, and that's always nice.
Yeah, I think it's harder with soccer players because you're not on like TV quite as often,
Definitely.
Right? And so for me, even when I've gone to games, I'm not looking at the faces. I'm trying to follow the ball and everything else. So I don't think I would recognize people quite as often as maybe, basketball. You're seeing it's very much in your face on TV.
For sure. Yeah.
Plus they're always like 6'10".
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very cool. So what kind of stuff do you do like on an off day? Like what does a normal day look like for a RSL soccer player when they're not playing?
I like to go to I like to try different restaurants in Salt Lake. I'm a big movie guy, so I like to go to movies, and it's a good thing to do to rest. I'm a big golfer, so I like golfing. There's great courses around here.
Have you had a chance to do skiing or snowboarding at all?
No, I haven't had the chance yet because our off season's kind of during the winter. So normally I would go back to Phoenix, but I'd love to.
That's fun.
Yeah.
It's as a professional athlete, you have to risk a lot more, I guess.
Yeah.
To do that kind of stuff, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Are you able to take advantage of some of the lakes and things around Utah?
Yeah. Kyle Beckerman, our captain, is a huge fisherman. He loves fishing, so he's taken all the guys on a couple camping trips, which has been fun. I love it.
That's cool. Who's your favorite teammate, or do you have a favorite teammate on the team?
It's tough to say favorite, but probably my best friend is Sebastian Saucedo. He's actually from Park City, so it's nice having him because he knows all the ins and outs of Utah. But yeah, definitely him.
Okay, and then is there somebody on the team that's like the captain and kind of rallies you guys? Is that Beckerman?
Yeah, Beckerman. He's been here for, I don't know if this is, I think this is his 15th. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So he's been here for so many years, same as Nick Raimondo. And those two guys are amazing leaders. And ever since I got here, they've been so good to me, on and off the field. They've made sure that my home living space is okay and is comfortable.
What do they do as teammates, like from a leadership standpoint, that makes them a great teammate?
Just making sure that on a personal level that you're okay and that everything's good and you're confident. Your confidence is high, and just speaking to you. And for me as a young player, I like to learn. So any little thing that they can teach me, I try and listen as much as I can and pick up on those things.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And what about as far as people that are maybe there's a kid listening to this and he's wanting to be a professional soccer player, right? I mean, you were a professional athlete. That is an awesome thing. What advice do you have for him? You know, because I think people see the end product, and you've had so much success from a young age. What advice would you give to a young kid that wants to one day be a professional soccer player like Brooks?
Yeah, I think the main thing is just sacrifice. You know, everyone sees the glitz and glamour of being a professional athlete at such a young age, but you know, behind the scenes, it's a lot of hard work. You know, even things like your diet and all that, you know, it plays into it to try and gain that extra level. And
how many hours a week are you putting into practicing getting better at soccer, including training and things like that?
Yeah, so we train 4 days a week, 2 hours a day, and then we have lifts after training 2 days a week. So, you know, it's a lot of training, and you know, even when you're not at the facility, you're still thinking about, you know, your profession and making sure that you're doing all the things off the field right, as you know, nutrition and hydration and all that, and making sure that you're not going out and partying, you know, and stuff like that. So, you know, the training is a lot and it's taxing, but you know, it's what you love to do and you make money from it. So, you know, it's a dream.
Have you ever had a time, maybe something just was where it got really hard, or a failure in, you know, in your career where you thought about like maybe doing something different?
Yeah, I think the biggest, you know, the biggest bump in the road in my career was when I was my first year in England. I actually had a pars fracture in my lower back. So that was, you know, it was the first year I had moved there. I was 16 years old and I was out for 6 months. So I wasn't even playing, you know, I had to, you know, live over there and, you know, do all the rehab stuff, which was super tough. And that was probably one of the toughest points in my career, but you know, that actually made me stronger and made me mature as a person. And I, you know, I'm actually lucky that I had that experience.
What did you do to kind of make it through that? Because that would be awful to not be able to play and you're over there like, what am I doing here?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So what did you do to get through that?
You know, I just tried to lean on my parents as much as possible, and you know, they're such positive people. They just said, look, you know, just got to keep your head down. You know, you're going to get healthy soon. And once you're healthy, everyone's gonna you know, see your talent, and you're gonna succeed. So just, you know, trying to lean on them. And my older brother is a great influence on my life, and
he plays too, right?
Yeah, he plays professional soccer. He went to University of Virginia for 4 years and played there, and then signed for the Real Monarchs last year, and is now in Phoenix.
Cool, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, and so having had a non-traditional youth, do you ever think about, like, if you weren't a soccer player, maybe what you would have done? I get asked that a lot, and I think about that a lot. If I wasn't doing soccer, what would I be doing? I don't know. I would want to be a professional athlete, so I would have to. I mean, I played a lot of tennis when I was growing up. I don't know. I don't know if I could be a professional in those sports, but like tennis and basketball, and those are my other favorite sports. And you know, I love being a professional athlete, and every young kid wants to be a pro athlete. But you know, if I wasn't involved in sports, I'd probably be, you know, a business guy and trying to do some, you know, trying to be an entrepreneur. Is it hard in this day and age? Everything is so immediate. Like if you have a bad game, people are blowing you up on Twitter. Yeah. Do you check that stuff, and is that hard to deal with?
Yeah, it's tough. You know, being so young when you get the hate that you get for having a bad game or whatever it may be. You know, it's tough, but you know, you got to look at what you're doing, and you can't. You just, that stuff has to go in 1 year through the other.
So if you guys ever lose a game, do you just stay off Twitter that night?
Yeah, I just stay off Twitter and whatever. If people are going at me, I don't even respond.
Yeah. Did they tell you guys how to respond to social media or how to deal with social media? Did they kind of train you guys on that?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a huge part, because social media is massive nowadays. And, you know, being a professional athlete, you're kind of in the spotlight. So you need to make sure off the field you're doing the things that you should be doing. So yeah, they definitely coach us on that a lot.
Gotcha. And then did you, growing up and things like that, did your parents, because a lot of times now I think one of the worries that people have is millennials aren't outside, they're not playing, right?
Yeah.
You obviously were outside. What did your parents do to encourage you to be outside, to be participating in sports instead of, you know, in on the computer all the time?
Yeah, so both my parents are super athletic. You know, my mom played college sports, and my dad played professional soccer. So he was the one that got me into it. And you know, after they were done playing in college and pros, they do triathlons and marathons and stuff like that. So they're super outdoorsy people, and we were always outdoor. Me and my brother were always, you know, kicking the ball in the backyard when we were growing up, and you know, just living outdoors. So that was luckily for me, I was able to do that.
No, I think that's a huge advantage to have parents that were athletic and always probably taking you outside.
Definitely.
Well, you guys have a couple games left this season. Have you already re-signed to be back here next year in Salt Lake, or do you know kind of what the future holds with that?
Yeah, so last off season I signed a 2-year guaranteed contract, so I'm here this year for sure and next year for sure, and yeah, we'll see how it goes.
You've been starting every game. So
everything's looking up. So 4 more games in the season, looking to make the playoffs, and I think we can do it.
Cool. Well, man, it's been a pleasure getting to know you better. And
thank you.
It'll be fun to, now that, like you said, now that I know one of the players a little bit more, it'll be fun to just go and watch and see what you're doing.
Definitely, yeah. I'd love to have you come to a game.
All right. Thanks, man.